So I've been meaning to do this movie review for quite some time. This was supposed to come out back in October during my whole October Halloween horror themed set of reviews. Due to some behind the scenes issues, it did not happen. I was supposed to have another guest in this video, but now I have a different guest in this video. Either way, let's get into this. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, and in today's video we're going to be talking about The Skeleton Key. As I mentioned in the intro, I have a different guest in this video than initially planned, but my buddy Dave from Interpreting the Stars is here in this video to talk about a film from the early 2000s that I feel is quite forgotten. A movie a lot of people don't talk about, but yeah, a big thanks to Dave from Interpreting the Stars for being here in this video. As usual, you can find the link to any of my guests down below in the description box. Go give them some love, let them know I sent you, and let's go ahead and get into my thoughts on The Skeleton Key. So this movie came out in the early 2000s and is a horror thriller. I think today it's not necessarily as scary as it was when I was a kid, so definitely a little bit more on the thriller side, but definitely has those horror elements. When I was younger, I actually was pretty creeped out by this movie, and going back and rewatching it, I kind of expected to be creeped out a little bit more, but I still did thoroughly enjoy it. This film is directed by Ian Softly, I believe that's how you pronounce his first name, who also directed a movie I remember enjoying back when I first saw it called Inkheart, starring Brendan Fraser. Now, I haven't seen that movie in years, so it could be trash for all I remember, but yeah, I remember enjoying it when I first did see it, and I think that's the only other movie from this director that I've seen. But as far as this film goes, I enjoy it. The story focuses on a young woman who goes out to take on this job as a caretaker for an old man who can't take care of himself. He can't speak, he needs help going to the bathroom, and needs help with pretty much everything. So she takes on this job. This house that they live in is out in the middle of nowhere, I think in just out in the swamps. And yeah, when she gets there, it turns out everything is not what it seems, and some creepy stuff starts to go down. The main character in this film is played by Kate Hudson. You also have Peter Sarsgaard in here, as well as Gina Rowlands and John Hurt, who is phenomenal in this film. And yeah, overall, like I said, this is a horror thriller film, but it's a little bit more on the thriller side. There's a huge mystery over the course of the film, and the basic gist of this film that it really kind of relies on is hoodoo, a different form of voodoo, and through that you have some creepy stuff that's going on throughout the course of this film, and it's so wrapped in mystery, and it's one of those movies that I feel a lot of people haven't seen that I really don't want to give you too much detail as far as the ins and outs of the story and what actually happens with the hoodoo, because I think if you ever decide to go check this movie out after this review, you would probably start to guess what's going to happen as you're watching it. Now, the film definitely has its moments where things start to become a little bit unpredictable, but for the most part, I think the movie still has a lot of mystery, and I rewatched this for the first time in probably about 10 years, and it was the first time my fiance had ever seen it, and she enjoyed it as well. Overall, I find this to be a pretty solid thriller horror watch. I really enjoy the performances throughout and that layer of mystery. It also has a really good creep factor throughout the course of the film, and you're constantly kind of at the edge of your seat, kind of waiting to see what's going to happen. Now, there are some slow moments in the film, as most movies in this genre have at times, but yeah, overall, I really enjoy the film, and I think Kate Hudson is really solid in this. Now that I've given my initial thoughts on the film, let's go ahead and hear what my buddy Dave from Interpreting the Stars had to say about this, and we'll wrap up my thoughts on this one.
What's up? I'm Dave from Interpreting the Stars, back on Anthony's channel to discuss the 2005 mystery thriller film called The Skeleton Key. The Skeleton Key stars Kate Hudson as Caroline Ellis, a nurse who, upset with the all-business approach to nursing homes, decides to work at a southern New Orleans estate to care for an elderly man played by John Hurt. Upon arriving, though, she begins to discover a dark history found on the grounds involving hoodoo practices that's putting the old man in danger, and the secret to saving him may just be found in a secret room in the attic. When Anthony reached out to me about watching this film, I couldn't remember specifically if I saw it or not, because I had heard the title ever since it came out, but other than that, I didn't know too much about it. Turns out this was definitely my first time viewing the movie, so I have to give Anthony a huge shout out and thanks for turning my attention to it. This movie, in my opinion, is incredibly unique. Whenever you have a film that has certain connections to things like the occult or voodoo, hoodoo, you know, I'm a little bit wary because none of that really interests me that much, unless it's done really well. And for the most part, I found the mystery and thriller part of this film to be incredibly exciting. I was really captivated by it from the beginning all the way to the end, and for the most part, I don't think anything in the movie is predictable. It almost has that vibe though, right? Where you're like, oh, you know, I've seen this stuff a million times, this is gonna be really tacky, but the more it plays out, the more you're like, oh, you know, hold on now. This is different. There's a lot going on in the movie that I want to talk about, that I wish I could talk about. But at the risk of ruining it for somebody like me who's never seen it, I'll hold off on that. Also, John Hurt. Man, you know, I love that guy. He's such a great actor, even in this movie where he barely does anything or barely says a word. Everything is displayed on his face when he emotes certain things, or like when he's trying to get a message to Kate Hudson's character all through a look. It's honestly kind of impressive. I don't even know how he got this role because for the most part, he really doesn't do anything. He just lays in bed the whole time and gives off a terrified look. But he does it so well. Now, I personally think the biggest thing about this movie is the way it ends. And again, I won't be diving too deep into this because see it for yourself. But I personally feel like the end is well deserved. That the mystery in the first two acts gives the viewer enough material and build-up that when the end finally occurs, it's kind of crazy and unpredictable, but still, it makes sense. It also allows the repeat viewings to be even better later on down the road. As far as negatives go in this film, I don't technically have many. I just think there could have been a stronger focus on some, you know, technical issues like cinematography, visuals, editing, stuff like that. It's not that the film looks bland so much as I felt like there could have been more there, since the filming location is actually pretty fascinating. It just wasn't as explored as much as I would have wished it was. Another slight complaint that I had with the film was that anytime they made the argument that there were ghosts at the house, or that you could maybe see them in a mirror or something, it sounds a lot scarier than it is, which I thought anytime you see something like that, it's a little bit tacky. Then again, I mean, the film did come out mid-2000s, and tacky would be the word that I describe for that entire decade of film. So even though people do describe this movie as horror in part, I don't. It's more of a thriller or a mystery than anything else, and it's decent in those departments. Other than that, let's go ahead and take a look at my final score from a technical, unbiased perspective. I enjoyed the film for the most part. I had no idea what I was in for. I was expecting a basic haunted house tale or something like that, and I got hoodoo, which is kind of cool. For the most part, how this is handled is pretty decent, but mostly by the books. This score is 72%. As for my bias score, or how I felt about the film in general, that's a little bit higher because I personally got pretty invested in the mystery of the film, and personally, I really liked the payoff. This score is 76%, and these two scores, when averaged together, come to the final rating of 74%. 74 out of 100 possible stars, or a C letter grade. Thank you so much to Anthony for inviting me back to your channel to discuss this very interesting film that I've heard a lot about throughout the years, but I never saw it until now. But I will not hog your channel any longer. I'll send it back your way now to finish out your thoughts on the Skeleton Key. Peace out!
A big thanks to David from Interpreting the Stars. I loved hearing your thoughts as usual, man, and I love that you actually enjoyed this film. I didn't know if you had seen this movie when I sent it to you as a suggestion for this collab, and so it's always cool when I can give somebody a first-time viewing of a movie that I remember seeing and enjoying when I was growing up, and I'm glad that you were able to kind of ride along the mystery and have a good time with this film as well. I think this is a movie that if you've never seen it before, I watched it on Hulu, don't know if it's still on there. I'm sure a quick Google search could tell you where it's at, but overall, I found it to be a good time, still going back and revisiting it. The mystery is still there. There are some slow moments, but the performances are really strong. I think Kate Hudson and John Hurt being the most notable performances, but nobody in this film is weak in any way, shape, or form. When it comes to the main stars of the film, the main people that we spend time with in this film, I feel like everybody plays their roles really well. The film does a good job of not revealing what's going on and what the big, kind of moments are going to be later on in the film. But, you know, like I said earlier, there are moments of predictability, but for the most part, I don't think you can go into this movie and even see the introduction of what's happening in the story and guess what's going to happen. I think this movie does a good job of keeping that mystery and keeping you as an audience member engaged to the ride and starting to see this all unfold in front of our main character's eyes. You know, this is one of those movies where you as an audience member are finding things out for the first time with the main character. It's not one of those films where maybe, you know, you as an audience member are learning information that the main character hasn't learned yet. You know, we're learning it alongside her, and I think Kate Hudson does a good job of keeping us all engaged while you're watching the movie and keeping you kind of interested in the mystery. Now, she does make some pretty stupid decisions at times, and I think sometimes with movies like this there's just going to be those logic flaws, but overall I think that Kate Hudson sells it, and it's definitely a fun and believable watch. Again, this is one that I think has kind of just been forgotten by time, but I highly recommend giving it a shot. So yeah, I saw it on Hulu, don't know if it's still on there, but I do highly recommend seeking out The Skeleton Key, whether you're just kind of looking for something creepy and new to check out that you've never seen, or maybe you want to kind of add it to a horror marathon or something for October. Whatever the case may be, The Skeleton Key starring Kate Hudson, definitely worth a watch, and I'm glad that my buddy David actually enjoyed this film as well. So a big thanks to him for being here in this video as usual. Again, you can find the link to his channel down below in the description box. Go give him some love. As for all of you guys, please leave your comments. Have you seen this movie? Have you not seen this movie? Do you like this movie? Do you not like this movie? Comment on any and all of those. Definitely hit that like button because it helps the channel out. And if you're new here to the channel and you made it this far, please do hit that subscribe button because I got way more reviews and movie related content coming here on the channel. So I'll go ahead and stop rambling now. A big thanks to you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.